The world had barely begun its morning routine when the sky above Earth changed forever. The clouds parted, the stars that were supposed to be hidden during the day shimmered, and a chill crept through the air as the first alien fleet silently emerged from the void of space. No warning, no sounds, just the cold certainty that something was different. For a split second, humanity thought it was a trick, that their eyes had deceived them. But as more ships uncloaked, their massive silhouettes casting ominous shadows over Earth's atmosphere, the truth became undeniable. The alien ships were cloaked, their technology far beyond anything humanity had ever seen. From the ground, all that could be seen were the faint outlines, as if the ships existed only in half of the world's view. As they hovered over Earth's cities, they resembled dark giants, their massive sizes dwarfing the tallest skyscrapers below. Each ship was built like a fortress, glimmering with strange energy pulses. There was no mistaking it. The invasion had begun. The aliens, confident in their superiority, wasted no time in announcing their arrival. Their leader, a towering alien general, broadcasted a message directly to Earth's population. The words echoed in every corner of the world, transmitted in every language as a warning. Humans, your time has come. You are nothing but insects, beneath the foot of a superior species. We have come to take what is rightfully ours. Prepare for your extinction. Across Earth, chaos erupted. People ran in panic, unsure of what to do or where to go. The world's governments scrambled, sending out their most advanced military forces to confront the invaders. But it was clear from the start, Earth was outmatched. The aliens had weapons capable of disintegrating entire buildings with a single shot. They had shields that absorbed every missile, every laser that humanity fired. It was a massacre. While some humans tried to resist with outdated weaponry, others fled to underground bunkers, praying for a miracle. The camera cut to various cities around the globe, showing the devastation that was unfolding. In New York, skyscrapers were collapsing under the weight of alien beams. In Paris, the Eiffel Tower was reduced to rubble within moments. In London, alien ships hovered over the Thames, firing energy blasts that vaporized everything in their path. The world's cities were under alien occupation. It was in the heart of the chaos that Captain Benner and his squad found themselves engaged in their first major firefight. Benner, a seasoned soldier with years of experience, knew that the weapons they were using had no chance against the invaders. But it wasn't fear that gripped him. No, it was determination. Humanity might have been outmatched, but it wasn't going to go down without a fight. The squad was positioned near the outskirts of what was once a bustling city. They hid behind ruined structures, waiting for the aliens to pass by. The air was thick with tension. As the alien soldiers moved through the city, their heavy boots echoing on the streets, the humans prepared to launch a surprise attack. But it was clear from the moment the fight began that they were fighting a losing battle. The humans fired their weapons, but their bullets simply ricocheted off the alien armor. The alien soldiers, unlike anything the humans had ever seen, were massive, with dark, armored bodies and glowing eyes that pierced through the smoke. They moved with the precision of a military force that had conquered worlds for centuries. As Captain Benner and his team fired back, their weapons useless against the aliens' technology, an alien general appeared. He was unlike any soldier the humans had faced before. Taller, more imposing, his armor seemed to shimmer in the air. With a twisted grin, the alien general looked down at Captain Benner and his squad and spoke through his translator device. Pathetic. Is this your strongest defense? I expected more from a species that calls itself intelligent. The alien general taunted, his voice booming. He looked down at the soldiers, his words dripping with contempt. You dare challenge us? How amusing. Benner, his hands gripping his weapon tightly, shot back. We'll fight you to the last man, you alien scum. The alien general laughed. It was a cold, chilling laugh. Very well, human. Let's see how long you can last. And then the battle truly began. The humans fought with everything they had, but the odds were stacked against them. Benner's squad was outgunned, their tactics no match for the alien soldiers' advanced technology. The humans' guns were no match for the aliens' energy shields. As one by one, the soldiers fell, Captain Benner fought on, determined to give his team a chance. A bolt of energy struck the wall beside Benner, sending debris flying in all directions. The blast knocked him to the ground, but his instincts kicked in. He rolled behind cover, ignoring the pain in his side. His squad was falling apart, with only a few left standing, desperately trying to hold their ground. The alien soldiers pressed forward relentlessly, each step they took symbolizing how close humanity was to extinction. The human soldiers kept firing, but it was like trying to stop a tidal wave with a pebble. Benner's breath came in ragged gasps. The sound of alien laser fire filled the air, each shot closer than the last. He could see the bodies of his comrades lying motionless on the ground, their faces frozen in fear. The alien general stood just a few yards away, calmly watching the destruction unfold. He raised his hand, and the aliens ceased firing, giving him the opportunity to mock Benner once again. "Is this the best you have, human? Pathetic. You will not survive this. You cannot." The alien general's voice was as cold as ice. His towering presence seemed to dwarf everything around them. Benner, despite the overwhelming odds, stood tall. His chest heaved with each breath, his weapon still in hand. His mind raced as he searched for a way out of this nightmare. "We're not done yet," he muttered through gritted teeth. "We never back down." In that moment, something changed within Benner. Despite the odds, despite the hopelessness of the situation, he realized that humanity's greatest strength lay in something that the aliens had never understood: their will to fight. The camera panned out, showing the wreckage of the battlefield, the last few human soldiers surrounded by alien forces. The sound of gunfire echoed in the distance, but there was a faint glimmer of hope. Earth might have been on the brink of defeat, but humanity would not go down without a fight. The alien general turned his back, giving his soldiers orders to prepare for the next wave of destruction, but a nagging doubt began to creep into his mind. The humans were resilient, and that was something he hadn't prepared for. And so, as the battle raged on, a simple truth began to form. Humanity's fate was not sealed. The aliens might have thought they were invincible, but they didn't know the secret that Earth held, a secret that would soon turn the tide of this war. The humans had something the aliens couldn't anticipate: the will to survive. The war was already taking its toll on Earth. Alien ships patrolled the skies, their weapons reducing cities to nothing more than smoldering ruins. Yet amid the chaos, humanity was beginning to find a glimmer of hope. It was an unlikely source, one that had been hidden deep within humanity's genetic code, overlooked by scientists for centuries. As the world descended into devastation, Dr. Emily Renard, the brilliant and determined scientist, made an astonishing discovery. In a small underground laboratory, deep within a fortified bunker beneath what was once the heart of New York City, Dr. Renard and her team of researchers worked tirelessly. While the world above was being torn apart, they had one focus: survival. They pored over ancient texts, old medical reports, and genetic data, looking for anything that could give humanity an edge. It was during this research that Dr. Renard stumbled upon something unexpected. For years, scientists had believed that humans were vulnerable to most toxins and pathogens, especially those alien in origin. But Dr. Renard's findings pointed to something entirely different. She had uncovered evidence of a long-forgotten immunity, one that was woven into the very fabric of human DNA. This immunity had been dormant for millennia, never needed until now. It was an ancient defense mechanism, a gift from Earth itself, and it was linked to water. Specifically, the way humans' bodies reacted to water-based toxins. As the alien ships continued their relentless assault, dropping deadly biological weapons designed to wipe out entire populations, it became clear that these toxins were ineffective on humans. Where the alien agents had expected mass casualties, They were baffled to find that the humans seemed immune. Water, the most vital element on Earth, had a unique effect on humans. It was a factor the aliens had not accounted for. This immunity was the key, and now it was up to Dr. Renard and her team to find a way to use it. Word of this discovery quickly reached Captain Benner and his team. They were engaged in another brutal fight near what was once the heart of London. The alien forces had launched another wave of attacks, this time targeting the city's water supply. As Benner's team fought desperately to defend their positions, the aliens unleashed their toxins into the water, expecting it to be the final blow to humanity's defense. But when the toxin-filled water hit the soldiers, nothing happened. The humans were unaffected. For the first time since the invasion began, Benner felt a flicker of hope. He wasn't sure how it worked or why it had taken so long to discover, but he knew one thing. The aliens had just underestimated humanity's resilience once again. "We're not dead," one of Benner's soldiers said, disbelief in his voice. "It's not hurting us." Benner glanced at the rest of his squad, the realization sinking in. "It's the water," he muttered. "Somehow, it's the water." The moment was brief, but the revelation gave them the will to keep fighting. They didn't know how or why the immunity existed, but it was enough. The aliens had made their first mistake. They had tried to use the one thing they thought could destroy humanity, and it had failed. Meanwhile, Dr. Renard and her team had begun to test their findings in the field. They realized that if humanity could control the water supply, it would have a fighting chance to outlast the alien forces. The immunity was not only physical, it was something that could be weaponized. If they could somehow purify Earth's water, filter out the toxins, and distribute it back to the people, the aliens' biological warfare would be useless. The race was on. Dr. Renard's team worked around the clock, developing advanced filtration systems and water purification devices. But as the aliens continued their attacks, the pressure was mounting. Every hour that passed, Earth's cities fell further under alien control. Humanity's population dwindled, and the desperate fights seemed to grow more hopeless. But Dr. Renard's discovery offered the first real glimmer of hope. Benner's squad was on the front lines of this new strategy. With the aliens focused on destroying Earth's remaining resources, the humans had to act fast. In the flooded city square of what was once downtown Tokyo, Benner's team set up a defensive line. Alien forces, once again, tried to push forward, hoping to break the final line of human resistance. But this time, the humans had an advantage. They had armed themselves with high-tech water pumps, devices that could filter and purify water at an incredible rate. The team set up a barricade of pumps, using water to push back the alien forces, blocking their advance and making it nearly impossible for them to approach. The flooded streets were a surreal sight. Alien forces attempting to navigate through the rising waters, while human soldiers stood tall on elevated platforms, sending streams of purified water surging toward the invaders. It was a tactical move the aliens had never seen before. The pumps sent torrents of water surging through the streets, pushing the alien forces back. With every surge, they lost ground, and Benner's team was able to gain small victories. But despite their growing advantage, the cost was high. The alien forces were relentless. In the midst of the battle, Benner's squad suffered devastating losses. One by one, his comrades fell, their bodies taken by the alien forces in brutal hand-to-hand combat. The tension was palpable, and the loss of each soldier weighed heavily on Benner's heart. But in the face of it all, something inside him hardened. These sacrifices would not be in vain. They couldn't be. He held his ground, using the water pumps as shields and weapons. His eyes were fierce with determination, the memory of his fallen comrades fueling his every move. "Keep pushing. We can do this. We're not done yet," Benner shouted as he fought off another alien soldier. His team rallied around him, pushing the aliens back further and further. It wasn't easy, and the aliens were growing more desperate with each passing moment. But Benner had learned something important that day. Humans could endure. The aliens had expected them to crumble under pressure, but the human spirit was something that couldn't be quantified. It wasn't just the immunity to toxins that made humans resilient. It was their ability to keep fighting, to keep moving forward, no matter the cost. With every alien they pushed back, Benner felt a renewed sense of hope. The aliens had thought their biological warfare would crush Earth. Instead, it had awakened something within humanity, a determination to survive. As the final remnants of the alien assault retreated, Benner allowed himself a moment of relief. They had won this round, but they were far from safe. The war was still far from over, and humanity had only just discovered the secret that would lead them to victory. The fight was just beginning, but now, humanity had an advantage they never expected. With the knowledge of their secret immunity to water-based toxins, the war had taken a sudden and unexpected turn. The aliens had no idea what they were about to face. The tide of the war had shifted in ways that no one had expected. Humans, who were once seen as weak and helpless against the might of alien forces, now had the upper hand. They had discovered something incredible, something that would turn the tables in their favor. It was the secret immunity to water-based toxins, but more importantly, it was the ability to use water as a weapon. As the human resistance began to realize the potential of this newfound power, they quickly adapted, using Earth's most abundant resource, water, to combat the invaders. At the forefront of this new strategy was Dr. Emily Renard. With her expertise in water purification and biology, she had become a key figure in the fight against the aliens. Her work in developing high-tech water disruptors was crucial. These devices had the ability to interfere with the alien cloaking technology, rendering their ships visible for the first time since the invasion began. She worked tirelessly alongside Captain Benner, coordinating the human forces and ensuring that every military unit was ready to deploy the water-based weapons they had developed. The military response was swift. Once the water disruptors were operational, the human resistance began to roll out their most powerful weapon, massive water cannons. These high-tech devices could shoot powerful jets of water at incredible force, enough to knock over alien soldiers and even damage their ships. But it wasn't just the water cannons that turned the tide. Humanity had an ace up its sleeve. They could control Earth's vast water supplies, harnessing rivers, lakes, and even oceans to wage war. This was something the aliens had never anticipated. The first major strike came when military units on the ground used the powerful water cannons to flood key alien bases. Alien forces had set up camps near major rivers, confident that their technology would keep them safe. But when the water cannons unleashed torrents of water, their defenses were quickly overwhelmed. The aliens, who had mocked humanity for its reliance on water, were now struggling to keep their forces intact. Their ships, once invisible and nearly indestructible, were no match for the rising waves of water that pummeled them from all directions. Meanwhile, on Earth's oceans, human ships equipped with massive water cannons began to attack alien fleets that had previously dominated the seas. Alien warships, which had once struck fear into the hearts of humans, were now sinking under the weight of tidal waves generated by the water weapons. The once dominant alien fleets were being wiped out, one by one, as massive waves surged from the oceans. The humans had turned the tables, using the very element that the aliens had underestimated. In space, the battle raged on as alien ships launched orbital bombardments, hoping to break the human resistance once and for all. But the humans were ready. Dr. Renard's water disruptors had already rendered the alien ships visible, and with this advantage, humans were able to launch counterattacks with devastating precision. As the alien ships hovered above Earth, preparing to unleash their next devastating salvo, the humans used their new weapon to trigger massive tidal waves. The force of these waves was enough to not only disrupt the alien fleet's landing attempts, but to tear apart their ships in orbit. The alien forces, caught off guard by the ferocity of the human retaliation, were thrown into chaos. The aliens had underestimated the resilience of humanity, but they had also misjudged their opponent's resourcefulness. What the invaders had seen as humanity's greatest weakness, Their dependence on water was now the very thing that was obliterating them. The aliens' technology, advanced as it was, had no answer to the natural forces they were now up against. As the battle continued to rage, Captain Benner led his team in a daring operation to push back the alien forces on the ground. They had made significant progress, but the war was far from over. In one particularly intense battle, Benner and his squad infiltrated an alien-controlled building in the heart of the city. The structure was partially flooded, water pouring through broken windows and doors. As they moved through the building, they encountered an alien leader, one of the highest-ranking commanders in the alien army. The alien was waiting for them, anticipating the human advance. Benner and his team had no choice but to engage in close-quarters combat. The alien leader was larger and stronger than any soldier Benner had fought before. Its advanced technology made it nearly invulnerable, but the flooded environment worked to Benner's advantage. He quickly realized that the only way to defeat the alien was to use the surroundings to his advantage. As the alien swung its massive blade, Benner ducked and rolled, grabbing a piece of debris from the floor. He hurled it at the alien, momentarily stunning it. This gave him the opening he needed. With a swift move, Benner drew his weapon and fired, sending a burst of water from his high-powered cannon into the alien's exposed side. The water hit with a force that knocked the alien off balance, causing it to stumble and crash to the ground. The alien leader, now struggling to rise, was met with another blast of water, this time from a nearby water cannon operated by one of Benner's soldiers. The water hit the alien's armor, flooding its internal systems and short-circuiting its technology. It was over. Benner stood over the defeated alien, his breath heavy from the fight. The sound of the water flowing through the building filled the silence. The fight was brutal, but it had been won. Benner looked around at his team, and for the first time in what felt like forever, he saw hope in their eyes. They had just taken down one of the alien leaders. It was a victory, but a small one. The war was far from over. As Benner and his squad regrouped, they could hear the sounds of battle raging on outside. The human forces, now armed with water cannons and disruptors, were making their final push to reclaim Earth. The aliens, who had once thought of themselves as invincible, were now on the defensive. It was a feeling none of them had expected just weeks ago. But humanity was resilient. They had found a way to turn the tide, to use their own planet's resources to fight back. Dr. Renard's work was paying off. Her water disruptors had successfully disabled the alien cloaking devices, allowing human ships and soldiers to fight the invaders on equal terms. The aliens had thought that their advanced technology would be enough to crush Earth, but they had underestimated the most dangerous weapon of all, the will of humanity. Now, the humans were taking back what was theirs, one wave at a time. Benner knew this was just the beginning. The aliens were reeling, but they would regroup. The fight for Earth was far from over. But as he looked out at the waters of the city, now turned into a weapon of mass destruction, he allowed himself a rare moment of hope. The humans were no longer the underdogs. They were the ones fighting back, and they would do whatever it took to win. The calm before the storm had never felt so heavy. The humans had made incredible progress, turning their weakness into their greatest strength. The aliens, who had once looked down on humanity as primitive and unworthy, were now reeling. Their once invincible forces were crumbling under the weight of Earth's water-based counterattacks. But as the resistance gained ground, so did the resolve of the alien commander. Humiliated and desperate to end the war, he called for a final, all-out assault, a strike that would attempt to crush humanity once and for all. The alien force's target was clear: Earth's largest water source, a massive dam that stood as both a symbol of human ingenuity and the heart of the water weaponry that had turned the tide of the war. The dam was the key to the human resistance's power. Without it, the water-based weaponry would be useless, and humanity would be forced to fight without its greatest asset. As the alien fleet prepared for the assault, the humans were already aware of the impending attack. Captain Benner, ever vigilant, had received word of the aliens' plans. He knew the mission was clear: defend the dam at all costs. If they lost the dam, they would lose the war. It was a terrifying thought, but it was the harsh reality they were facing. Benner had led his team through countless battles, but this would be their most difficult test. The camera zoomed in on the dam's towering walls, standing tall and formidable against the alien sky. It had been a symbol of strength, a testament to human determination. But now it was in jeopardy. Alien drones swarmed overhead, their metallic bodies reflecting the fading light of day as they descended on the dam with deadly precision. They were equipped with advanced weaponry, laser cannons, bomb-laden drones, and cloaking devices designed to destroy any human resistance that stood in their way. Benner and his team rushed into action, fully aware that the dam was the last line of defense. The situation was dire. The sheer size and power of the alien assault made it feel like an insurmountable challenge, but the humans were not ready to give up. The soldiers moved in sync with the robots, their technology now more vital than ever. The robots, which had once been a sign of human reliance on machines, were now integral to the defense of the dam. They were designed for battle, strong, fast, and resilient, working side by side with the human soldiers to hold back the alien forces. As the alien drones began to rain down destruction, the humans fought with everything they had. The camera captured the frantic movement of the soldiers, sprinting from one position to the next, setting up makeshift barricades and traps designed to slow the alien advance. Using the knowledge they had gained through the war, the humans strategically deployed their water cannons, creating surges of water that cascaded down the dam's walls, flooding the battlefield and forcing the alien forces to retreat momentarily. But it wasn't enough. The drones continued to fire, relentlessly attacking the dam's foundation. Benner was in the heart of the battle, directing his team with calculated precision. He knew that if the dam's integrity was compromised, it would spell disaster. The water it contained was their lifeblood, the key to everything they had fought for. His mind raced, thinking of every possible strategy to hold back the alien forces. The stakes couldn't be higher, but Benner was determined. He would protect the dam, or die trying. The battle grew fiercer as the alien forces deployed larger, more powerful units. Alien soldiers, clad in advanced armor, stormed the perimeter, cutting down humans left and right. The robots, built for heavy combat, charged into the fray, clashing with the alien soldiers in a brutal metal-on-metal war. The camera focused on the chaos, capturing the intensity of the battle. Explosions rocked the ground, sending plumes of smoke and debris into the air. The once immaculate dam was now scared, under constant bombardment from above and below. Amid the chaos, Benner found himself face to face with an alien commander, one of the highest-ranking officers in the alien army. The alien towered over him, its armor glinting in the sunlight as it brandished a massive energy weapon. The two locked eyes, and for a split second, it was clear this was not just another fight. This was the final stand for humanity's survival. The alien commander was ruthless, attacking with a speed and precision that took Benner by surprise. His energy weapon discharged blasts of searing heat, forcing Benner to dive for cover behind a chunk of fallen debris. The fight was fast-paced, every moment bringing Benner closer to the realization that this battle would determine everything. He couldn't afford to lose. The fate of humanity rested on his shoulders. Around them, the fight raged on. Benner's soldiers were doing their best to hold the line, but the alien forces were relentless. They knew that if they could breach the dam, they would effectively destroy humanity's ability to defend itself. It was a terrifying thought, but Benner refused to give in to fear. He fought back, using the environment to his advantage. He knew the terrain better than any alien could. He used the water flowing through the dam to create traps, luring the alien forces into them and flooding their positions. The battle intensified as more drones and soldiers descended on the dam. The once dominant alien forces were slowly being pushed back, but it was clear they were willing to sacrifice everything to win. Benner's team had lost several soldiers in the fierce exchange, and it was becoming harder to hold the line. But the human spirit was unyielding. Every time they were pushed back, they found a way to push forward. They had come too far to let the aliens win now. As the battle raged on, the alien commander saw his forces faltering. He had underestimated humanity's resolve and their ability to adapt. His forces were struggling to break through, and the dam, though battered, was still holding strong. The human resistance, though outgunned and outnumbered, had fought with such tenacity that it had given them an edge the aliens hadn't accounted for. But the battle was not over. Benner, battered and bloodied, stood tall, determined to see this through. His thoughts were clear. If the dam fell, humanity would fall with it. And he couldn't let that happen. As the alien commander advanced for one final assault, Benner rallied his team for one last push. It was now or never. They had to stop the breach, or all would be lost. The camera zoomed in on the dramatic final moments. Benner, standing firm, face determined as the alien commander launched his final attack. Every second counted. Would the dam hold, or would it all come crashing down? The final moments of the battle would decide humanity's fate. The tension was palpable, the outcome uncertain. But one thing was clear. Humanity was fighting with everything it had, and they weren't about to give up now. The atmosphere was thick with tension as the alien forces closed in on the last stronghold of humanity's resistance. Captain Benner and his team were battered, bruised, and exhausted, but they stood their ground, determined to protect Earth at all costs. The alien mothership loomed overhead, its dark silhouette casting a shadow over the battlefield, reminding the soldiers of the daunting odds stacked against them. The final assault was imminent, and Benner knew that every decision they made in the next few moments would determine the fate of humanity. The humans had fought valiantly, using the power of water as their secret weapon to turn the tide of the war. But now, as the alien forces tightened their grip, they were running out of time. The water cannons had done their damage, but the aliens were not going to stop until they had crushed every last resistance. Benner and his team had one last hope, a defense mechanism they had worked tirelessly to prepare, a massive water cannon, designed to strike the alien mothership from the depths of the oceans, launching an overwhelming surge of water that would weaken the mothership's defenses. But there was one problem. The cannon needed time to charge, and the team had to hold off the alien forces long enough to activate it. That's when Lieutenant Monroe stepped forward, a look of determination in his eyes. He had been with Benner from the beginning, a friend and a brother in arms. And now, as the situation grew desperate, he knew what needed to be done. Benner looked at Monroe, his eyes full of unspoken words. Monroe nodded silently, understanding what was required of him. Without a word, he ran toward the front lines, taking position in the middle of the open battlefield, where the alien forces were closing in fast. The rest of the team watched in stunned silence as Monroe set up his position, preparing to make the ultimate sacrifice. "Monroe, no," Benner shouted, but it was too late. His friend was already in the line of fire. With a steady hand, Monroe activated his weapon and opened fire, blasting the oncoming alien soldiers with everything he had. The aliens were momentarily stunned by the intensity of his assault, but they quickly regrouped and began to push forward. The sounds of gunfire, explosions, and alien screeches filled the air, creating a chaotic symphony of destruction. As the alien forces advanced, Monroe continued to fight, determined to buy the team the time they needed. He knew the odds were against him, but he also knew that this was the only way. Every shot he fired, every alien he took down, bought the others precious seconds. But the alien soldiers were relentless, and soon they were closing in on him from all sides. Benner watched in horror as his closest friend fought with everything he had, knowing that his sacrifice was the only way to secure humanity's survival. The team behind him worked frantically to activate the water cannon. But it was a race against time. The alien forces were too many, and Monroe was only one man. Still, he didn't falter. His courage and resolve were unmatched. Then, in a final act of bravery, Monroe took a last stand, charging at the alien forces with a grenade in hand, taking out as many of them as he could before he was overwhelmed. The explosion echoed across the battlefield, a desperate cry for help that was heard by every soldier still fighting. Monroe's sacrifice was not in vain. It had bought the team the time they needed. "Monroe, no," Benner cried out, his voice choked with grief as he watched his friend fall. His heart shattered in that moment, the weight of the loss bearing down on him. But there was no time for mourning. The water cannon was ready. With a final, resolute breath, Benner signaled to his team, and the massive water cannon fired, sending an enormous surge of water crashing toward the alien mothership. The force of the water struck the mothership with such power that it caused the ship to tremble and groan. The alien ship, which had once seemed invincible, was now faltering under the pressure. The massive cannon unleashed wave after wave, and the water poured over the ship's hull, weakening its shields and causing damage to its systems. The alien mothership, now vulnerable, began to fall from the sky. Its massive form plummeted toward Earth, and the soldiers watched in awe as the once mighty vessel crashed into the ocean with a thunderous splash, sending ripples across the waters. The sky cleared, and for a brief moment, there was silence. The water cannon strike had done what no one thought possible. The mothership, the symbol of the alien invasion, was now nothing more than a wreckage sinking into the depths of the ocean. The aliens had lost their advantage, and humanity had gained a crucial victory. But the fight was far from over. There were still more alien forces on the ground, and the war was far from won. But the soldiers were no longer defeated. They were no longer the underdogs. The loss of Monroe was a bitter blow, but it had also sparked something deep within them. They were fighting not just for survival anymore, but for the memory of their fallen comrade. They had made it this far, and they weren't going to stop now. Benner stood over the wreckage of the alien mothership, his face a mixture of grief and determination. The tears in his eyes were not just for Monroe, but for the countless others who had fallen in the fight. He knew that the war was far from over, but this was the turning point. The tide had shifted in humanity's favor. "Monroe's sacrifice will not be forgotten," Benner muttered, clenching his fists. "We're not finished yet. This is just the beginning." The soldiers rallied around him, their spirits lifted by the victory, but they were also bound by the pain of loss. They had come so close to defeat, but they had overcome it. They had faced the aliens with nothing but their wits, their courage, and the power of water. And now, they had one more thing: the resolve to avenge their fallen brothers and sisters. Benner looked out at the horizon, the battle still raging in the distance, but his mind was focused. The aliens had underestimated humanity, and now they would feel the full force of humanity's wrath. The last stand was over, but the war was far from finished, and Benner would stop at nothing to ensure that the price of victory was worth the sacrifice. As the soldiers regrouped, they knew that they had finally gained the upper hand. The alien mothership was destroyed, but more enemies remained. Yet in their hearts, they knew they had one thing the aliens could never take away: the unbreakable will of humanity. As the final moments of the war approached, the humans were ready to make their last stand. Their use of Earth's natural resources, especially water, had turned the tide of the conflict in ways no one had predicted. The alien invaders, who had once mocked humanity's reliance on water, were now struggling to comprehend the sheer power of Earth's natural force. They had underestimated the human spirit, and now they were paying the price. Captain Benner, leading the resistance, stood on the edge of what seemed like the last battle for Earth. With their new understanding of water's potential as a weapon, humanity had devised one final, coordinated strike. The strategy was simple but devastating: use Earth's oceans, rivers, and seas to flood the alien forces and overwhelm their technology. The alien fleet, which had been so sure of its superiority, was about to be rendered helpless by the very element it had once disregarded. The humans had been preparing for this moment for days, gathering the necessary resources and rallying every soldier who could still stand. They had repurposed every water cannon, every hydro-powered machine, and every military device they could find to launch this final offensive. And now, the moment had arrived. As the alien fleet loomed overhead, ready to crush the last remnants of humanity's resistance, Venner and his team initiated their plan. They had positioned massive hydro-powered water cannons along the coastlines, targeting the alien ships with pinpoint accuracy. At the same time, strategically placed dams across the planet were opened, releasing torrents of water into the rivers, creating powerful surges that rushed toward the alien forces. The aliens had never imagined that humanity could harness such raw power. The first wave of the human counterattack came as a shock, a massive tidal wave that surged toward the alien fleet from every direction. It was as if the oceans themselves had turned against the invaders. The massive alien ships, which had once glided effortlessly through the sky, were now helpless against the water that rose up to meet them. From every angle, the alien fleet was submerged. Tsunamis crashed into the ships, flooding their hulls and rendering their advanced technology useless. The water-powered cannons fired relentless streams of water, knocking alien vessels out of the sky, while the floodwaters, unleashed from dams and rivers, engulfed the alien ground forces. The invaders were no match for the overwhelming force of Earth's waters. The human strategic use of the planet's natural resources had completely reversed the tide of the war. In the midst of the chaos, Benner stood firm. His face was streaked with dirt and sweat, but his eyes burned with determination. He knew this was the moment they had all been fighting for. Every soldier, every scientist, and every civilian who had helped in the effort had poured everything into this last push. And now, it was paying off. The alien forces, once so confident in their technological superiority, were now in full retreat. Their ships, damaged and sinking, scattered in every direction as they tried to flee from the rising waters. Their weapons, once powerful enough to obliterate entire cities, were useless against the relentless force of Earth's oceans. The aliens who had once thought they could conquer this planet with ease were now running for their lives, their technology rendered irrelevant by humanity's ingenuity and resilience. As the last alien ships disappeared into the distance, Captain Benner stood at the edge of the battlefield, looking out over the wreckage of the alien fleet. The waters, which had once seemed like a threat to humanity, were now the planet's greatest ally. The humans had turned their greatest weakness into their most powerful weapon, and it had won them the war. Benner raised his hand, signaling for the final attack to cease. The waters slowly began to recede, leaving behind the wreckage of the alien fleet and the devastated remains of the battlefield. The sky, once darkened by the alien ships, was now clear. The alien threat had been vanquished. As Benner stood atop the wreckage of an alien ship, watching the last remnants of the alien fleet disappear into the horizon, he knew that humanity had achieved the impossible. They had not only survived, but had fought back against an enemy far stronger and more technologically advanced than they could have ever imagined. They had won. The soldiers, exhausted but triumphant, gathered around Benner. Their faces, once filled with fear and uncertainty, were now filled with hope. They had done it. They had driven the invaders from their home, and they had proven that humanity was capable of fighting back, no matter the odds. Benner turned to his team, his voice steady but filled with emotion. This is not just a victory for us. It's a victory for every human who has ever lived on this planet. We've shown the universe that we will not be conquered. We will not be drowned. A message was sent out to the stars, broadcast for all to hear. Earth's waters are its strength, and we will not be drowned. It was a simple message, but it carried the weight of humanity's triumph. The aliens had come to Earth thinking they could crush humanity with ease, but instead they had found a planet full of people who would fight until their last breath to protect what was theirs. In the aftermath of the battle, as the world began to rebuild, the significance of their victory began to sink in. Humanity had proven that they were not a species to be taken lightly. They had fought off an advanced alien threat, using their knowledge of the planet's resources, their ingenuity, and their resilience to outsmart and overpower the invaders. The aliens, who had once seen humanity as weak, had learned a harsh lesson. Earth was not to be underestimated. The destruction of the alien fleet was only the beginning of humanity's recovery. The war had left scars on the planet, but it had also brought humanity together in a way that had never been seen before. Nations that had once been divided now stood united, working together to rebuild and ensure that such an invasion would never happen again. The knowledge of Earth's waters, their strength and power, was now the key to securing the future of the planet. The human race had learned to harness its resources in ways they had never imagined. As Benner and his team watched the sun rise over a peaceful Earth, they knew that the war was over. But they also knew that the real work was just beginning. The Earth had survived, and humanity had triumphed. And as they looked to the future, they were filled with hope. Hope that they could rebuild, hope that they could protect their world, and hope that they could thrive in the universe once again. Humanity had proven, beyond a doubt, that no matter how powerful the enemy, no matter how dark the odds, they would never be defeated. And in the end, Earth would stand tall, a beacon of hope and strength in the galaxy.